Hey, SD Bestie. Okay, so let's be real. We all know that the wax you use can make or break your business. Are you struggling to find the right wax? Is your current wax breaking and leaving hairs behind? Well, honey, I got you because Nova Wax is here to rescue you from the headache. Nova Wax is low temperature, never breaks, and will cut your waxing time in half. Use code TheWaxingEsthetician to save 15% off on your order. Come join the Nova fam.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Waxing Table podcast. I'm Michaela, and I'm so glad that you are here with me today. Today, we're talking all about local marketing strategies for building your clientele. And we are going to be talking to the Lady Peng. She is the owner of Teddy Bear Waxing Co. In San Jose, California. And without further ado, here we are. Hello, how are you?
Well, how are you, Michaela? Thank you for
I
having
am
me.
doing so good. Yes, I'm so excited to chat with you. If you're in the waxing space, I'm pretty sure you know who Miss Lady Peng is, but if you do not know, you will get a chance to know her today. So let's talk a little bit about you and how you got started in this waxing industry.
I went to law school, so my path was a little bit unconventional. It was not. I knew from day one. I knew a year prior to law school that it was the wrong choice for me. But then with the moment I stepped into law school, I remember sitting there in class in civil procedure and thinking to myself, I'm in the wrong place. Like these are not my people. These are not topics I want to discuss. I would rather apologize to every single ex-boyfriend I've ever had than to talk about jurisdiction and any of that BS. So I knew. But the thing about law school is that it buys you time. It people stop asking you, what do you want to do with your life? You know, it gives you like people when they ask you, what are you doing? And you say, I'm in law school. They're like, oh, she's going places. All right. So then they leave you alone for 3 years. But then after 3 years, you have to figure out what you want to do. And I remember getting my eyebrows waxed at this one place, and the girl who waxed me, an amazing person, amazing. She's an example of somebody who is so good at her craft. Such like I will never be half of a brow artist as she is, or even. And I'm a pretty badass Brazilian waxer. I'm not nearly as good as she is, but there's a difference why she's no longer in the industry, why she tried to do it on her own and she couldn't do it on her own, and why I was able to. And I have a 7-figure body waxing business, and no shade on her whatsoever. She is amazing at her craft, but she just did not pick up the business side of it. And so I remember sitting there and having her do my brows, and she also did my brows and my Brazilian, and I just did the math, and I was like, oh, okay, okay. And when I went to, but then it didn't clicked to me to become a waxer. I just knew that I had to get into the aesthetics because I felt like there's more passion for me in there. But the very first day I was there, I had to do a facial, and I'm like, nope, not for me. And I thought to myself, wrong line of work. I made another wrong decision. But then this girl came in, and she did an underarm wax, and like it was like the instructor did it in 2 minutes and got $10, and I was like, okay. Then I put two and two together. Brow girl over there, $10, the math, it all came back to me. And that's okay, done.
So it was
Done.
easy. It was, yeah,
Easy. It was
that's,
easy.
yeah, that's so cool. So what was the time frame? So how long were you in law school or when you finished to when you actually went to aesthetic school?
Uh, I floundered. See, here's the thing. The difference between me and you, Michaela, is that I'm 49, almost 50. What that means is this was like 20 years ago. Okay. So the time I don't remember. I was out of law school for, X amount of years. I would say 3, 4 years maybe. And but I was like doing other stuff. I refused to get into law. You only go to law, you only get, when you're in well, when you're a lawyer, all you do all day is argue. You know what that does to a person's soul, Michaela, to argue like for 10-hour days, 4 or 5 days a week, like that
It's
kills a person's soul.
exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because you're either arguing directly with another lawyer, you're arguing on the phone, you're arguing on paper, your mentality is always arguing, or you're threatening people. Like if you don't do this, that's 10 hours of arguing and threatening. And that's just not. So I was determined not to go into the legal field. But I was poor. and broke and living off of ramen and dust. So I was working like 4 or 5 different jobs. I exaggerate that every single time I talk to somebody. I'm sure I was working like 3 different jobs, okay? But at some point I'm going to say I was working like 9 or 10 different jobs. But it was just one of those things where you just kept going, and I was using money that I didn't have, because my school loans is one thing, and then having to talk to, having to like, I had to get my brows done because I was going to a wedding. I couldn't do it by myself. So I was like just on credit card, credit card, credit card. And the only way I was out of it actually was when I started waxing. That was it.
Mm,
That
yeah.
changed me.
Yeah. So did you start off just solo, or did you start off working for someone first?
I worked for someone briefly, and then I moved, and then the end goal was always solo. I always knew it'd be solo, but like I felt like I needed to learn how to wax. Waxing school. I mean, beauty school. You don't learn anything. So it wasn't until like I worked for somebody briefly, and that imploded. Um, I really do believe that if you work for somebody, I think 3 years is a lifetime. I think anything beyond 3 years, and both sides are lucky. If you still like this person, you still you still respect your owner and whatnot. But 3 years is a lifetime. But I didn't work 3 years for them. It just didn't. I moved, so it didn't work out. And so right when I moved, I just opened up my own place. But mind you, I was working out of like someone's home. Like it was a friend's house who he had an extra room. So then I, took over his spare bedroom, and then it evolved from there. Which is how I tell everybody, like, if you can't, working from your house isn't a thing in California. It's not allowed, but you do what you have to do. So if you have to start somewhere, you start somewhere. I would strongly recommend anybody to go work at EWC first, like for just to get the clientele, just to learn what it's like to work, back to back to back to back, and then open up your own place. But that's how I would strongly suggest someone. I would strongly suggest someone to start that path if that's what they want to do. If they want to go solo.
Yeah, I completely agree on that for sure. So how was Teddy Bear born? Did you have a partner in the beginning? Was it just you? How was it? How did this idea come about?
It's just completely me. And then it was me at that house, and then me at a shop that that building. I mean, my clients who are with me to this day, they still make fun of that building. They're like, "Did they make crystal meth next door?" And I'm like, "Probably." I'm like, back alley abortions back there, probably. Like it was a pretty sketchy place. And then I moved into a hair salon, and I rented a room from there. And then from there I moved to this place that I have right now. Never say I call this my forever home, but who knows, like, I don't know what'll happen. But Pi joined me in the hair salon. Like she and I reconnected. Like we long story, but we reconnected, and then I took her on as a co-partner, co-founder, co-owner. Because the reason why I say co-founder, even though technically I founded it, but I call her a co-founder because the teddy bear you see now is a direct result of her. It's not because of me. Everybody thinks that I'm the mastermind, okay? And I mean, thank you. That's very kind of you, but it's just because I have a big mouth. In actuality, she's the operator. She's the person, like, on one of my lives, she was on one of my lives, and we talked about how with the division of labor. And truly, I now at this point I see the big meta picture, and I'm like, ththis is the direction we have to go. These are the ads we have to place. This is what we need to do, and she implements it all. Like, if you ask me about the day to day, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know our scheduling system. I have no idea how to move this person to this other slot. I have no idea. But she has taken over, and she's enlisted Rika to help with certain aspects. But she's the implementer. So that's the reason why I call her my co-founder, because if not for her, you don't see the version of teddy bear that you see now. Like, anybody can do. You can be a solo. You can do the $350,000. I truly believe as a solo waxer, you can make 350 a year, like, on your own. You want to go beyond that, then you need a team. And don't get me wrong, at
Mm,
350, like, you are like at capacity. You are dead to the world. You barely have a life. Like, I think you can make 275 to 300 comfortably on your own, but beyond that, you need a team. And I would not have this, living in out of state, from my studio in California. They're in California. I'm here in Portland. I would not be able to have this without a team. This, come on, not possible.
yeah. Wow. That's so cool. I love that you give recognition to all your team members and everything.
Oh
So
God.
your business so your business is in California and you are in Oregon.
So the brick and
Th-
mortar, the body wax studio is in California, and
Okay.
I am here. I am here in Oregon.
Wow, that's so cool. I think that's mind-boggling to me. I'm like, you have an entire brick and mortar and it's operating by itself and, without you physically being there and you are living somewhere different. I think that's really cool to me.
That's kind of everybody's. That wasn't the game plan. Everything that has happened has been accidental, but it's one of those things where I don't know what the phrase is, opportunity meets blah blah blah, but what it is that you keep going in that direction, in a certain direction. I feel like the direction is far more important. It's so damn important. It's so damn important. And I accidentally chanced upon that direction. And when I say that, I'm talking about, for example, building a team. I think the end goal for most people is to build a team so that the business is self-running, right? But that wasn't my goal. It wasn't my goal. I just happened to head in that direction as when I saw the opportunities emerge, and I took it. And what that means is like, for example, Pi. I didn't have any plans on hiring, but then Pi came to me and Pi was like, I want to be a waxer. And I she was a client at that point and I trusted her. Like I knew her so well at that point. I'm like, all right, then come wax with me. Like let's do this, right? She did not that wasn't a job interview. She was just
Hmm.
like, I want to be a waxer. Like, how do I become a waxer? And I'm like, well, here are your options. I can help you and I can train you and you can come work with me for a time period. And if you think you like it, go open a place out in Gilroy, which is like, 20 minutes from us. 30, because I'm cognizant. Anything beyond 10 minutes, you're fine. Like if any of my team members are like, Jane, I want to do my own thing, they already know. I ask for two things of them. Give me 3 years and open a place 10 minutes from me. Because if you're 10 minutes from me, you're basically in a different country. You're basically in a different state. Like in San Jose, 10 minutes is a big deal. I mean, some people are
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, I have clients who fly in, or I have clients who, okay, but those are not your bread and butter. That's not your bread and butter is within a 5 mile local radius, right? We're going to
Hmm.
talk about local marketing, but like the moment you go 10 miles from, like, 10 minutes from me, you're fine. So that was the original game plan, and it just evolved into but when I saw what a great person she was as a team member, I'm like, you might as well just stay. And she's like, yeah, okay. And then just that's and then I every time I added somebody to my team, it wasn't because of skills. You can ask Rika. She was a shitty waxer at the beginning because she was a lash artist. She wasn't a waxer. I make fun of the way she held a wax stick. I'm like, wait, what? Like, who holds a wax stick like that? But I don't care about wax skills. Like, that's just such an easy thing to learn. It's really the heart. If if you don't have the right heart, if we don't match, in that sense, then this is not going to work. But like heading towards that seven figure, heading towards the out of state, like having your own team, it's a long process, and it starts
Yes.
now. It starts with hiring. It's well, no, it starts with you like getting your studio on like completely efficient as
Hmm.
possible. Nobody cares about your business the way you care about your business, right? So the amount of
Hmm.
wax you use, I guarantee you, your team member is going to use twice as much. The amount of strips that you use, the amount of oil that you use, they don't care. It's not personal to them. So like we just went over our numbers. Like it's like we spend, like 60,000, about 60,000 in supplies, right? That is as efficient as it gets. Like because like my standards for efficiency is here, Pi standards for efficiency is here. I found somebody who's more efficient than I am. So because her standard is here, the moment I left, everybody has to come to this standard. So that's how
Hmm.
like it does no good if, yeah, you have 5 people who can wax, but they're wasteful and you're spending all this amount on, supplies and whatnot. Where's the profit? So it really starts with you as a solo waxer being as efficient and just being an assassin with your numbers and the supplies and your overhead. That the moment someone else comes in, they have to elevate to this level. The biggest problem that I see is that people are not efficient, and they don't have any control over their finances, their overhead, any of that stuff. So truly, they are operating at a C-level leadership, right? So what do? They attract C-level talent. So these people come in, they match this energy, they match this standard of C-levelness. Then this person is like, this is not working, my numbers aren't right, like I'm not profiting anything. Then they go, they get education, and now they come back and they're like an A leader. But good luck trying to elevate the C-level employee to A level. It's just I rarely see that happening. And so now there's conflict, and now there's like 5 team members who are now going to clan up, and then they're going to leave you to go somewhere else. That's
Yeah.
usually what happens.
Yeah. So how does someone achieve that from the very beginning? How do we set that standard when it's just us from the very beginning, so that if we were to hire someone, they already know what they're coming into?
Big picture, big picture mindset shit. First, be humble. And when I say that, that means I promise you, Michaela, and I'm not saying you, okay? I'm just saying anybody out there, myself included, stay humble and realize that you don't know shit, okay? I was
Mhm.
there. I swear, I got chills when I think about this, because there was a time, this is how arrogant I was when I was listening to these podcasts, and they were like, yeah, you have to continuous education. Like, you have to, level up, otherwise. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I got this waxing game. What are they talking about? Continuous. I didn't know shit. I didn't know shit, because a lot of waxers, they think that they know how to wax. I'm sure that they can wax decently. They can wax, and then they're making 100K, and they're like, I'm great. And then the moment they have team members come in, that's when things go to shit. When you're solo, all the mistakes, you are blind to all your mistakes. You're blind to all your inefficiencies, because you don't realize how much better you could be until you see somebody else come in. They're not going to be nearly as good as you, and you see the inefficiencies where they are at. Okay, you as in this, you're going to go. You're like, I spent how much in wax? I just worked with someone recently who spends like almost 10,000 a month in wax. Right? She has a
Wow.
lot of volume, but that's a lot. That's a big number. And I know for a fact that you can reduce that number. But to her credit, my God, she was like, she saw that number. She's like, we can't keep doing it this way. Right? Now, I'm pretty sure that had she or anybody been more like, okay, let's look at these numbers. Do these numbers make sense? Can not even do these numbers make sense? Because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if it makes sense or if it doesn't. But if you challenge yourself, if you just kept on going, can we get this lower? Can we get this lower? Can we get this? And how? How can we get this lower? How can we? Pi and I used to literally go, hey, I used 6 wax sticks on this Brazilian. And she and I every single day would be like, I used 6 today. I used 8 today. We just kept challenging each other to go to use even less material, and not to the point where like we're cutting corners. No, if you have to use it, you have to use it. But are you mindful? Are you
Mhm.
mindful? And I'll give you another example. Okay, so this is very. I go to a lot of places, and I see they have a talcum powder there, right?
Mhm.
They use powder to as a pre-wax barrier. Totally fine. I use oil. That's totally fine. But instead of decanting that talcum powder into a sifter, they'll just leave that talcum powder in its original, whatever, on its waxing cart. For me, I wouldn't do that. I would remove the container, put it in a sifter of some kind, an aluminum sifter, some sort of
Mhm.
different sifter. Because you know what? When a client comes in, I don't want them to know that's a 99-cent powder canister. I want them to think that everything is an elevated experience. And the reason why I bring that up as an example is to be very mindful of everything on your cart. Is it necessary? Do I make a lot of use of this? How much does this cost? Like, just really challenge yourself. It starts with that for me, actually. And when you start noticing these little tiny things, then you kind of go, look at that air vent. I haven't cleaned that air vent yet. Trust me, clients can see it. We have LED light bulbs on top. Like, all of our rooms have LED lights. I spend an extra $1,500, $2,000 on an electrician so that he installs white LED lights, so that you don't need any other lights, right? And you can see, like, when they lay up, when you look up, I can see the dust on the bulbs, and I'm like, not okay. It starts with being really mindful of everything in your room. What is the price component? I've I've at this point, I've probably visited like 20, 30 wax studios, right? Just because that's what I do. And I look at the materials. There was this one person who she uses soft wax, and her wax strip, I know what she does. It's thin, it's smaller. Usually wax strips are like this big. It's smaller. She's being mindful of cost, and which is a good thing. But for me, that's not where you would save the money, because it takes her longer. It's too thin. You can only use once or twice. Whereas like a thicker, like ours is 100 grams per square meter. Ours is thick. You can use one for like half the leg, like half the
Mhm.
front side of a lower leg, right? And then so a whole lower leg with 2 strips, that's 12 cents. Whereas she's used, yeah, it's like 3 cents, but she has to use like 8 of those. So just being really really mindful of cost, because again, with you by yourself, it's your time, the money all goes to you, you're fine. But when you find out that it takes 2 full-time employee team members to replace you, then you're very, very mindful of costs. Finding 2 loyal. I've always said this, it takes 3 people to replace you. Why? 2 people to replace you, but one person's going to bounce. I guarantee you, one person's going to bounce. And when that one person bounces, what are you going to do? You're going to go back into your business? You're in Portland now, girl. What are you going to do? You need 3. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like you have to be very, very mindful of all the costs in your room, and you have to be very, very mindful and slow and deliberate with hiring people. Like for us, like I'm not that person where I'm like, okay, I have 2 rooms, gonna hire 2 people. Nope. I will hire one person, spend a shitload of time with them, really, really get to like work with them, all that stuff. Once I feel like they are good, they are like, I will let go of like 50, like let's just say I'm at capacity and I have so many people who want to come and and get waxed. I don't care. I won't take their money. I'm not going. I would rather have one person at capacity, have her like really know her heart, know that she's loyal before I take somebody else. So the hiring process is very slow, making sure I know all the costs of everything, how long this takes, is there a cheaper or a higher quality alternative? I'll do it. That is what it takes before you even start the hiring process. There's that being really, really efficient in your room, and then getting your monthly P&Ls and really knowing every single one of your numbers. That's how that's after that, then you want to hire.
I love that. That was so much. I'm like, wow.
I'm sorry. Michaela. I'm sorry. I'm
No, I
sorry.
love it. No, don't apologize. I love it. I love that you said being mindful of everything that's on your cart as well. Like every single item that you have, like what is the purpose of it? And I'm in the process of doing this, and I had to kind of reevaluate what exactly like I'm using, because I moved, from a different city to now I'm in Dallas, and I had to get rid of so many things because I'm like, why did I even purchase this? Like I'm not even using it anymore, like just down to the cotton rounds, like choosing which ones to get. Am I getting one separate for brows? Am I getting the same? Am I going to use the same one? Am I getting 2 different little cotton swabs for brows? Like I'm having to be super mindful of what I'm using because I'm starting from scratch. I don't have a lot yet. I'm kind of building up to that point, but I'm glad that I'm kind of in this space right now because I'm just like really evaluating things. So I'm glad that you said that.
Oh, 2 things I want to say about that. When I tell you that to be mindful of everything on your cart, it starts with that. It truly starts with that. Okay, it's the same concept as like if you want to be successful in life, is your room clean, girl? Like make sure your room is clean. Like it's literally starts with your environment, because once you have a high standard for like, unless I use this all the time, it's not going to be on my cart. Unless it's really of value, it's not going to be on my cart, right? That's how it starts. And then it starts with that. Then it makes it easier and you're in the right mindset to attack your finances. There's this movie, I forgot what it's called. I think it was called Limitless, right? Where this guy, he takes a pill, and I mean, he was, I don't know, poor, didn't have a job, nothing going on for his life, that sort of a thing. And then he takes his pill, and then he's able to like be brilliant and see things and all that, and just be a smarter guy. The very first thing he did was clean up his room, right? That's the very first thing you have to do, is get organized, and that's why I feel like it starts with your cart. It literally starts with your treatment room. But let's get even smaller than your treatment room. Let's start with your cart. Is everything there essential? Because I guarantee you it's not. Like for a lot of people, it's not. We, over the years, we get a lot of wax samples. Why is it still in your treatment room? Get rid of it. Get rid of your wax samples. Okay, like all these wax samples that you're not going to use, go donate it to a beauty college, right? I want to tell you about cotton rounds. We don't have any cotton rounds. Why? Because we realize we don't need it. I put oil in my hands, I do this, and then, but don't get me wrong, that's because we don't do brow waxing. If I had brow waxing, I have to have cotton rounds, right? But on body waxing, there's literally
Yeah.
no need for it
Yeah.
unless you do powder, right? But I hate using powder. No offense to anybody who uses powder. Let me just tell you why I don't like using powder, because it gets everywhere and you have to use a cotton round. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather just have oil and skip that, right? And plus, when I wax testicles, I'm going to use oil in their testicles. I do not want any powder that will like absorb excess moisture. No, 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 no. I will use
Mm-hmm.
oil on their testicles because it's just a more protective layer, right? So I'm a minimalist. I will not have like powder and oil. We have a tiny little container of powder, and that's just for it's just for upper lip. Some people they tend to break out with upper lip, so it's just for upper lip. That's it. That's the only time
What
we
about
use powder.
your sweaty
Yeah, go ahead.
clients? For you still use
We just
oil too
absorb.
if they like super sweat?
Yeah, we just absorb. Sometimes with the sweaty clients, we don't even use any protective layer. No need, because
Okay.
they're already sweating. They're going to sweat within 2 seconds. But the other thing too is that our AC is set to 50, so
Mm,
it doesn't
yeah.
really happen that often, right? But um, there was something else I wanted to say. Oil, I don't remember. But yes, it literally starts with your cart. Like there should be nothing that you don't use on the regular, at least 5 or 6 times on your cart. Then if you don't use it, at least 5 times a day on your cart, get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some things I need to get rid of. Even
Mhm.
still, because I get a lot of, samples and products from different brands, and
Mhm.
I'm just like trying out, and I'm like, I love it all, but I can't use it all. So I need to get narrow it down to what I'm actually going to use and just stick with that. So
And you know what? Sometimes, like I remember, I'm guilty of keeping wax because I used to think to myself, well, if I run out, if all of a sudden I
yeah,
forget to place an order for, but then that's a crutch. I should never run out. I should always place an order for wax. I should never ever run out. Nope. So I just got rid of it. Just donated
yeah,
it to the local community college. That's it.
yeah. I love that. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, we're gonna dive into marketing. So what did
Yeah.
you first do when you started, putting yourself out there, when you started marketing yourself for your business?
Okay. I'll tell you, but it's not relevant. And the reason why it's not relevant is because times have changed. Understand that I've been in the game for 20 years. So what I did 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that you can't do that anymore, right? So back then, what I did literally was that there was no social media. There was no way to advertise, none
Hmm.
whatsoever. All you could do was maybe have a sandwich board, which wasn't allowed on the building that I rented at the time, and I put an ad on Craigslist, and not even a paid ad. It was just every single day I would go on Craigslist, and it was like under the services. I forgot what it was, but like I would just say, yeah, Brazilian waxing for $40. A Manzilian waxing for like I don't know, like 50 or something like that. Like every single day, you had to have a different email address for each. It was a thing where like that probably took half an hour of my life every single day was posting something else and then creating a new email address. I had like 14 email addresses because that's the only way, and that's literally the only way you could advertise back then. You can take an
Wow.
ad out in the newspaper, but nobody looks at the newspaper. Even back then, they stopped looking at the newspaper. So back then, that's what you did. And but really, what got me wasn't that got me started, but what um, got me to where I am now, reviews. I always say we're not in the business of new clients. We can't because getting new clients takes way too much time and way too much money.
Hmm.
You have to be in the business of rescheduling. Like you're not in the business of new clients. So
Hmm.
you get new clients, you're screwed. So if you're not doing it right and you have to constantly get new clients, like you're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
So back then, that's what I did. That you can't do that today.
So how did you get your reviews? Was it the Google reviews that you got? How did you get your clients
No, no,
to?
Google reviews wasn't a thing back then. Back then, it was just Yelp.
Yep.
And
Okay.
literally it was asking for it. Do you love me? I love you. Do you love me? No, but do you love me, Michaela? Okay, can you please leave a review for me? Like literally that's what I would say to them. Like, do you love me? And they're like, yeah. No, do you love me the way I love you? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, can you leave a review for me, please? Like, do I ask very much of you? And then, and like you see my personality, and like if you read my website, they understand my personality, so they were more than happy. But you had to ask for it. You have to ask for it. But nowadays, I
Yes.
mean, there are other ways to get reviews as well.
Hmm.
So this is one of the things that I would strongly suggest. So you know Tanya from Just a Strip.
Hmm.
Tanya has her own brick and mortar. She also has a seven-figure body waxing business, and she uses Forest for a scheduling site. Right? So one of the best things about Forest is that they have something called like an online management reputation app. I'm butchering that phrase, but you can Google something along those lines, and it's this component of the it's this part of the scheduling site where basically let's just say you are a client, right? You come to me and then you schedule with me, you come to the appointment. After you leave, it will automatically email you or text you and say, hey girl, do you want to reschedule? I'm sorry, do you want to leave a review? Right? And then they're going to be like, yeah. So if you leave a review, there's a component in it where it's like, if it's like a 5-star and above, it'll automatically publish it to Yelp. It'll automatically publish it to Google. Does that make sense?
What? Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yes. So uh that's the reason why Tanya has like 1,700 reviews now, it's for
Wow.
Google, which is because if you have a Gloss Genius, it doesn't do any good to have a review there. You want it to be on Google or
No.
on
Hmm.
Yelp, right? But so Forest didn't work out for us. Like Pi wanted to toss her laptop out the window. She hated Forest. But what I did was that we wanted to like Forest for that component alone. But I'm like, they have to have an app for that. So we did. We signed up for an app for that, and we just started very recently, but we've already gotten like, like I'm a big believer in automating things and simplifying things. And like I told you, I'm a
Hmm.
minimalist. So if I can have an app that does all of that, like that encourages people, because you can only do so much word of mouth, right? If I can have an app that automatically does that, like let's do that. So I think that's invaluable. I think that when you're first starting and you're poor, then okay, word of mouth, then just beg, people. But then afterwards, beg people and use this app. But that's one of the reasons. Let me get one step further. That's one of the reasons why we schedule using Squarespace, because Squarespace has a lot of apps written for it, right? There's a lot of like, there's other like if you go, I don't like if you look up Gloss Genius and apps, I don't know how many apps actually integrate with Gloss Genius. No disrespect, I just don't know. I don't know. Or like Vagaro, I don't know how many apps are written for that, right? Whereas if you put Squarespace bought Acuity, they have a lot of
Hmm.
apps that are written for it that will work with it.
Hmm. Yeah. I've heard so many good things about Squarespace and I tried using them for a long time. I just got so confused on how to work it. I don't know if it was just me or what it was, but I've been recommended Squarespace from quite a few people.
There's absolutely no perfect site. Okay, and
Hmm.
Squarespace has its own demons. One of the biggest demons they have is that, like we have like 5 Michelle Smiths, for example. They keep combining the Michelle Smiths. Do you know how irritating
Hmm.
that is? Like, I'm not even like that. I don't even know what to do. We don't know. We left Squarespace to go to Forest, and we're like, okay, I can't do this. So we went back to Squarespace, and trust, it wasn't just Squarespace. We've gone to like 4 or 5 different places. At the
Hmm.
end, we're like, that's the least evil so
Yeah.
far, but we're
Yeah.
open. We're completely open. Like I think in business, you have to pivot and you have to be
Yeah.
open. And not Squarespace now, maybe Squarespace in a year. Who knows? Like maybe they upgraded, maybe they changed, who maybe they fixed their glitches. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so can you talk to the solo SD who is right now trying to figure out the best strategies to market themselves, to put themselves out there? And we're not talking about necessarily social media, we're talking about locally. What is something that a waxer or an esthetician can do specifically to get their name out there within, the businesses that are around them? What exactly should they do? What should they look out for?
So the first question is, do they want to pay for it or do they want it to be free? Because um, with your business, it's a 5 mile radius, right? Like if you can really conquer the market, like really get your name out there within a 5 mile radius, then you're looking at multiple six figures. So that becomes the question. Like, how do you want to dominate? You want, are you poor and you want to do it for free? Okay, it's going to take longer. Um, do you have money to invest in this, or do you have to put it on a credit card or what have you? It'll be faster. So let's talk about free first, right? The first thing when it comes to free is, at a very basic level, your building, does everybody know that you're in there? Like I always say this, like if you're next to Target, everybody at, let's say you smack dab next, you're in a hairstylist hair salon in a shopping complex that's next to Target. Every single woman at Target should be coming to you. Like, and if they're not, there's only two reasons why they're not. Number one, they don't know you're there, or B, number two, they don't know how cool you are. So your job is to somehow get in there and figure out, like, how do these people here in Target know me? One of which is, let's just say at a very simple level, there's a sandwich board. You need to put a sandwich board out right in front that says 7-minute Brazilian wax that way, or Brazilian wax that way, or body wax that way. That's as simple as it gets, right? And I always say marketing is 16 touch points. You cannot do it one time and go, how come nobody's coming? I put a sandwich board out there, didn't work. They need at least 16 exposures. That doesn't mean that after 16 times that all of a sudden now they're going to come. They know you're there. That's part one. But part two, do they know how cool you are? Probably not. So how do we bridge that? Are you wearing a shirt that every time you go into the Target, you're wearing that, hey, I'm your coochie waxer, or you're talking to people, or you're just like, this one time I went to Starbucks, like everybody at Starbucks to come to Teddy Bear, because she's like, what's a good name for your drink? And I said, can you put coochie waxer? And she's like, God, Jane, I can't. I'm like, what I'm saying, I mean, can you put it? And she's like, okay, that sort of a thing. I'm like, if you put it, I'm gonna give you a free wax. And she's like, no problem. So like we
Love that.
became BFFs there. She all it takes is one person to spread your gospel, right?
Yeah.
And so she spread the gospel, so everybody at that Starbucks comes to us. So I'm just like, there's that's at a ground level, and that takes constant daily work from you, right? How much time do you have? How much will do you have? Because it's exhausting. Truly, it's exhausting. You can do that. You can, like, there's the other thing where I always say this: if there's an apartment complex and everybody in that apartment complex came to you, you're done. Or there's a hospital and everybody at the hospital comes to you, you're done. Like, you technically don't need that 5 mile radius. You have an entire, like, Stanford Hospital coming to you, right? So how do you get there? Like, I mean, yeah, you can put flyers on the car. Is it going to work? I don't know. You can, if you got one nurse from there, from a floor, which is what we got. Like, we just got one nurse. She loved us. We gave her a couple of free whatever, so she let everybody in her department know, and then they came to us. You really, if you just targeted a few businesses, and the apartment complex, for example, if you know, or a condo unit, like if you know the person who leases it, or the apartment building, if you go, hey, can you hand this out in all your, like, welcome packages, that has your business card, it has to be something cute and funny. Okay, it just can't be, hi, I'm your local body waxer. Like, that is the most, like, the least memorable thing in the whole wide world. If you bought something that was shocking or funny or something, and you just included it there, plus a map that says, hey, your body waxer is right here, like, but it has to be more than
Mm,
one touch point. What is the other touch point?
yeah.
Like, is there, that's one touch point. And then another touch point is like that sign right outside your store, but it's continuous. It's like, I used to live in this complex where they would have like random, like, events, like, oh yeah, come join us for a Cinco de Mayo barbecue. Come join us for, like the at that time I was in college, so I I was in college. I wasn't business minded, but now in retrospect, if I was a waxer and I knew about that, I would have gone to that complex. Number one, I would have given them, like, hey, I'm your friendly waxer. Here's a coupon, or here's a snack or some shit like that. But at all of those barbecue events, I would be there with a booth. I'd be there handing out water, handing out lemonade, handing whatever, and that's just a free thing. So
Hmm.
that's when you don't have, right, and you have more time than money. That's what I would suggest. I wouldn't suggest what some people do on social media, where they're like, oh, I'm going to go and put my business card in at Target in people's wax kits. Like, that doesn't do anything. That's just a waste of time to me. But if you were to, let's say, so that's the free side. Let's talk about the paid side. The paid side is, well, in the middle, which I think is most impactful, is your Google SEO. Like, I think there's not enough people, not enough waxers who understand SEO. And once I explain it to you, then you're like, oh bitch, is this it? Is that all I have to do? Yes. And you
SEO
get to
was
be,
like, oh my goodness. I know it's so good, but I'm like, I don't understand it.
Michaela, do you want a crash course really quickly?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me just tell you this. Okay, SEO is all about text. First thing you have to do is, what city are you in?
I'm in Arlington, Texas, which is in like Dallas area.
Okay, did you buy the domains yet?
No, I have not. I've been advised to purchase the domains that is for the specific city, right? So you're talking about like Arlington
Mhm.
waxing, Dallas waxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the first thing
Okay.
you have to do is get, like, Arlington Brazilian waxing Arlington, Dallas Brazilian waxing, your neighborhood. That's what you need to do, right? And then what is the name of your business?
Irie Beauty Studio.
Okay. Then do you already, is there a website there?
Yes.
So
Okay.
what you would do is have those other websites point to you, right?
Mm,
That's step one. Does that
okay.
make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Step two is on your landing, your first page, the home page, it needs to be as long as your arm because we need to have as much text as possible that says Arlington Brazilian wax. I want to see so many mentions of Arlington Brazilian wax Arlington, the best waxer in Brazilian, the best Brazilian waxer, the best. That is like 90% the SEO game. If you just have constant text, I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't want just like one monolithic paragraph. You want like 5, 10 little tiny short paragraphs that talks about the best waxer in Arlington. That's 90% the SEO game. Is just to have
Okay.
as much text as possible that says Arlington, that says Brazilian wax. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
That's number one. Number two is that you make sure that your main heading, that first thing that when you pop up, it says best Brazilian waxer or best body waxer in Arlington. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
You need that like right when it pops up, that's the first thing that you see. That's called H1. That's heading one. That's your park place, your boardwalk. That's prime real estate. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally 90% the SEO game.
So should I hire someone to like do the SEO and the website who knows what they're doing, or should I just figure this out myself?
The question is, do I have money or do I not have money? If you have money, hire someone. I would say hire someone. So here's the thing, okay? There are two people who are going to help you. One is the web designer and one is the web developer. The web designer puts all of that in for you, right? But here's the thing, when you hire a web designer, everybody just goes, I just want this website. And they're like, okay, I'll take care of it. No, bitch, that's not what you do. Okay. You have to give them the text. You have to be the one that says, here is 50 paragraphs. Don't do 50, but I'm just saying, here are 50 paragraphs. This is what I want you to put there. That is SEO. So their job is to make sure that those like 10, 20, 30 paragraphs look pretty and natural on your website. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
After they do that, then you hire a developer to write the code to make sure that the developer writes that, oh, this best waxer in Arlington is in the code so that it's designated as an H1. So now Google knows, oh, there's a waxer in Arlington. So you can design it, but if it's not, the designer can design it. But if the web developer doesn't plug it into the code, then Google doesn't know. Google knows some. Google will kind of figure it out because Google is smart. But to really get the power out of it, that is when you hire the web developer. Now, it really depends on the competition in your area. How savvy, how savage, how ambitious are the other waxers? Because if they're not, then all you have to do is hire a web designer and it's done. It's enough. But I'm the kind of person, I'm very competitive and I'm all about worldwide domination. So for me, that's not enough. I want to make sure that not only is it well designed, but it's plugged in so that any other waxer who dares come into my neighborhood will understand what they're facing. This is not easy to knock me off. Because if all you do is do the design and you don't hire a developer, then what happens is then I will come along and I'm like, oh, her website is good, but now I'm going to hire this developer. I'm going to plug mine in. It's going to be in the code. I knock you out of first place. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So it really starts like if the moment someone Googles Arlington waxer near me, if you are the first one to pop up, so the first one pops up gets 30% of the traffic. 30, like,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's even higher. I think it's like 40% of the traffic. You almost get one half of the traffic. If every time someone searches for you and you get that, like that's why it's such it's an expensive investment, but it's such a worth it investment because you can do the signs all you want. You can go wear your coochie shirt all you want, right? But for maximum impact, if you just set up your website correctly the first time, then and you automatically it just compounds and now you get 40% of the web traffic. That beats everything. So a little bit of money invested into your SEO is everything. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes so much sense. Thank you for explaining that. I think it's going to help a lot of people. It definitely helped me.
That
So that's
starts it
one.
starts Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, that's one way that you are going to, I guess, when it comes to like the marketing strategies, that's one marketing strategy, which is paid. Is there
Mhm.
another, or paid or not paid, but is there another one that you would recommend on the paid side of things?
There's also there are two other ways to there's two other forms, right? One is Facebook IG ads. I'm not a big fan of Yelp ads. I think I've seen too many people go through Yelp and not get anything out of it or get very little out of it. I'm not a big fan of Yelp ads. There's Facebook IG ads and there's Google ads, right? And I've gone through Facebook IG ads. I've studied enough about Google ads to be able to speak. I'm able to speak more intelligently. I can speak intelligently on both, but I'm able to speak more intelligently on Facebook IG ads because we've lived through it, and so now I understand what it entails. Both. So Facebook and IG ads, it always involves a an irresistible offer, meaning that you don't want to discount your services. You never want to say, "Hey, first time waxers, a first time a Brazilian appointment." Let's just say your appointment is. Let's just say that the service is $60, right? You never want to say, "Oh, for a limited time, you get it for $40. For a limited time, you get $30," because you attract the wrong audience. You always want to
Mm-hmm.
say, "Yeah, it's $60, but you get all these other stuff."
Yep.
So that
I
you get
agree.
them used to the $60, right? So that's the whole thing about Facebook IG ads. We placed it. I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to stuff like this, you will lose money the first month or two. Just in terms, Facebook IG ads is a little bit complicated to set up, so you will lose money initially. But by the time it got running, we were getting about 20 new clients a month. And for me, like, you can get 20 new clients a month, but like, for a solo waxer, you'll still make money. For a business owner, you'll break even. It's not on the first, because you don't care about the first wax. You care about the lifetime value of that. How many more times are they
Mm-hmm.
going to come back? And I always tell my
Mm-hmm.
girls, listen, if if you guys are slow, if you guys don't get new people, that's my fault. My bad. Because I'm in charge of marketing. I'm in charge of marketing you guys. But if I get people through the door and then they don't reschedule, that's on you. That's your fuck up. Because your job is to convert them. With the very minute that Pi joined me back in the day, like 20 years, no, that's not 20 years ago, but back in the day, I told her that your job is to steal every single one of my clients. You better like be far more charismatic, a far better waxer than me. Like, that is your job, is to steal all my clients. And it's the same way to this day. Like, your job right now, like, if my job is to get people through the door, your job is to convert. And if you're not converting, there's something wrong with your technique, with your personality, what have you. So there's a statistic where if they rebook with you 3 times, they're basically lifetime. Or like, if they rebook with you twice and they buy a retail product, they're your lifetime. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the metric we're always like, following. Like, did they rebook? Because if they didn't
Mm-hmm.
rebook, at least with that first appointment, then I'm upset, because now as a business owner, I've lost on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we broke it down. It From what we got, it was basically like $30, 30 bucks per 30 bucks per lead. It cost us about 35 bucks per new client. But as a business owner, after I have to pay commission, not commission, but pay my team members and all that, then for me, I broke even. So I just need, so that's one way. That's the Facebook and IG ad component. Then there's the Google ads. And Google ads, you can do one of two things. You can just, like, okay, just have a sponsored, you have your website be sponsored, and anybody who clicks on it, they just go to your website. That's one way of doing it, right? I prefer not to do that method, because I prefer to just work on it organically, so that my website becomes number one. So then I don't have to pay anybody for a sponsored ad. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too is that you can do one where if someone searches Arlington waxing, they click on it, it's taken to a different page. It doesn't take to your normal page, it's taken to a different page, where now they're introduced to that irresistible offer. So it's very similar to
Mm.
Facebook. So you create your own,
Mm.
that's how you do it.
Wow. And that's all through Google Ads. You can set up an entire different like landing page
Yes.
for
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing
So
that.
which one? The Google ads?
I'm gonna be doing the Google ads and then I'm gonna try the Facebook ads too. I'm gonna do both.
So
Which one do you think
are
I
you
should do first?
are you gonna do it concurrently with each other, or are you gonna do it individually? Like, as in,
Um,
like, are you gonna do as first for 6 months, 3 months, and then you're gonna switch over, or like, what have you? What are you gonna do?
I was thinking doing one at a time. I
Yeah,
think
I
like I
would do
should do
one at
them
a
both.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you should do one at a time, see how it works for you. I think the biggest thing that people have to understand when approaching ads is that it really is trial and error. Like, don't go into there
Mm-hmm.
into it going, oh, I'm going to put down $100. I'm going to get $500 out of it. I mean, yes, that's what I want you to do, right? But it takes like a minute or two. It takes a month or so, just so that you can maybe a month, maybe like 4 to 5 weeks for you to kind of like get the flow of things. And sometimes it's not even. Sometimes it's the landing page. Like that's the one thing that we figured out was for our Facebook IG ads was that they would click. We got an insane amount of clicks, but then the moment they clicked and they went to our landing page, like our kind of our Squarespace's scheduling site, they got confused. Then they're like, then it completely dropped off. So we had to actually
Mm-hmm.
change that completely, switch the landing page. And once we did, we got 20 new clients within within like a few days. So that was like it's really trial and error. I think that you should go with Google Ads first. Are you gonna do it yourself? Or are you gonna work with somebody else?
I was gonna do it myself. I was gonna figure it out, and if I couldn't figure it out, then
Beautiful,
outsource.
beautiful.
I always try to
But
figure things out first.
you and I are different. Like I'm like, no, I don't know. Go. Like I'll hire someone to do it. But are you going to do the irresistible offer thing, or are you going to do just going to your website?
I don't know. I feel like there's I could kind of go either that way or the other way.
Have you looked for yourself? Have you looked for like when you search for Arlington Brazilian wax? Do you come up?
So I don't come up yet. I just had to get a new Google profile, so I'm just getting my reviews up.
Hmm, hmm.
So I don't. I come up, but I'm not like the first of the bunch yet.
So I think that if I were in your shoes, I think if I were in your shoes, I would. You have more time right now. I would number one like really really SEO the shit out of your site, like first and foremost,
Hmm.
and let that season because like as in like it really only takes maybe a week to really get it done, and then you have to wait for Google to do its thing, right? It's just like you can put all the recipe, all the ingredients together for a cake, but the oven still has to do its thing, right? So it doesn't turn into a cake yet. You still have to wait for that prolonged period of time. So the quicker you do that, the quicker you're able to just let it season and go up in number in ranking, right? I would strongly suggest do the irresistible offer. Like our irresistible offer always centers around one thing, which is we have our tote because people love totes. We have our tote. We have a free like a tote and a free underarm wax because that's nothing. A free upper lip wax that's also nothing. Takes us about 12 cents to do. Um, $15 off their next order and probably like a sample size of something, right? So we always say that our $65 Brazilian now, this package is actually worth $106, but they get it for $65, and that's always our offer. That's always the introductory offer for them, and that works really well for us.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that tote idea too. People love free stuff and free gifts and everything.
So here's the thing, it's the free tote because it's actually useful,
Hmm.
and like it's it's year round. You can always use it. Like you can always
Hmm.
it's easy. That's all.
Yeah,
It's easy.
definitely. So I know that you shared this is all going to be basically trial and error. You have to really find, what works for you.
Oh yeah.
Are there,
Yeah.
yeah, are there any like mistakes that you've made as you have been, in business that you're like, okay, never doing that again? Anything that's like that sticks out to you?
You know what it is? It's yes. The big meta answer to that is a lack of priority. For example, a lot of waxers, what they do is that they will spend all their time and energy on making their place look cute, which is great. It's fantastic. That's advertising on its own, right? If they just spent 10% of that time and energy on their SEO, that would be far more impactful than for them to, and that's what I did. Like, I mean, I think a lot of waxers or business owners, not waxers, just business owners in general, they focus on the wrong things. So now I'm very, very mindful of, okay, how can I um how can like this one move that I'm making, whether I spend my time in. So this morning, I'll give you an example. I had my Wax Chat Wednesday on Instagram Live, right? And then right afterwards, I spoke to two different people about Google Ads, just because I'm just learning, and just trying to figure out what is the better move for me, how much an ad spend, all of that stuff. I really want to understand it, right? And then now I'm talking to you. The point is, those two people, having talking to those two people, far more impactful than me worrying about, what picture should I put on this wall, or going to, like I said, going to Target and putting a business card, and or like handing out business cards on the street, or like passing out flyers. And like, I think the biggest problem a lot of business owners have is that we confuse movement for progress. Like, you can very much
Mm,
run in place, right? Like, that's not what you want to do. We get lost in the whole social media. Oh, this person is a hustler because she stops, she never stops working. Whereas the painful stuff, getting your numbers in order, understanding what the difference between cost of goods and supplies, understanding all of that shit, or what a Roth IRA is, and all that. That is being a business owner. That is making moves
yes.
that are far more impactful than the easy stuff that you can do daily, and that you do it's, it, instead of doing the stuff that you're avoiding, everything you want is in that work that you're avoiding, man. Like, if you just stopped avoiding that and embrace that it's going to suck for 20 minutes, and if 20 minutes is too much for you, embrace the suck for 10 minutes. Then, I mean, like, when I learned about SEO, I literally paid SEO experts like $150 for their hour. Really, after that, I learned that I can only understand and learn things in 30-minute increments. 100 an hour is far too long. So just in 30 minutes, I was the first person I spoke to and the last person I spoke to. Huge difference in terms of like the understanding that I brought to each of them. By the time I spoke to the 10th person, I could have been the expert. Now I'm like just
Mm.
confirming. Okay, we good. If I do that, okay, are we good? That sort of a thing. That's far more impactful. Understanding SEO, understand like, and the first person who I hired to do my SEO, he did not do a good job. And it wasn't until afterwards where then I'm like, I'm never going to be swindled again. I don't like using the word swindled. I will never be uninformed again. And I will now hold people to task. That was when it started, because I'm like kind of like, okay, but did you do this? But did you do that? Let me see. And I can't code, but I can read this very specific part of code that says, okay, has this been designated as an H1? Got it. Okay, understood. Because I spent the time to talk to 10 different people to learn more about that. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, that actually is full circle to what we talked about at the beginning, about when you asked me, hey, how does a solo esthetician like get really efficient, like really, really, like, it's seriously making a list of everything that you need to do, starting with your cart. That's easy for you. Start with your cart. Look at your cart and what do you need to do, and what do you need to get rid of. Same thing with your schedule. Look at your schedule. What do you need to get rid of on the schedule? Because I guarantee you, like, we give out pussy chips. You've seen our pussy chips. Like, they're cute. They're funny. Haha. Social media is great. But does that move the needle the way SEO does? No. So I would rather prioritize SEO over anything else. That's a long answer.
It's the answer that is needed. We all need to hear that, and I think that is what's going to really catapult your business, like you're just saying. So, my last question was basically you already answered it. You pretty
Tell
much answered everything that I have. And that was just like, what advice you would give to new estheticians trying to establish themselves locally. Um,
One
the
thing I want to say about
SEO.
so one thing I want to say about that is, I think on a big picture level too, is for them to understand that it's not just waxing. Like, they need to understand
Mhm.
that they're business owners now. And the thing that always makes me a little sad is when I hear waxers say, "Hey, I wish I could just wax. I wish I didn't have to do marketing. I hate marketing. I hate social media. I hate." I think it was Virginia who was on social media, and she on her story she goes, "Do you realize what a blessing social media is? Do you understand that 20 years ago you didn't have an opportunity to for free marketing? It's a blessing." Because when waxers say that, hey, I just want to wax, then I want to tell them, then you should go work for EWC. Like, that's all you have to do. All you have to do is
Mhm.
show up and wax. That's literally
Mhm.
all you have to do. So really, the first step in marketing is realizing that you have to market. You're a business owner now. And if you don't want to market, then go be an employee.
Yeah, I agree. That's a wrap. That is it, y'all. That is amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Like you've given us so much value. Like my mind is like
And
exploding.
you know this. Everybody who's watching this understands this. I overtalk. Like when people like ask me, I'm like, well, then there's this, and then you can do this, and then you can do this, and then that's just
It's
and
okay. We
I
needed
don't.
it.
The other thing too, I want everyone to understand this is a journey. Okay, please, people, like don't be
Yes.
hard on yourself. Don't think that oh shit, I had to. Oh my, nobody's holding like there's nobody chasing you doing this. Do it at your own time and pace. By all means, like please, just realize though, this needs to get done before you do everything else. That's all I'm saying. Like when it comes to like your SEO should have been done yesterday. You know, like your SEO, like before you think that hey, what picture, like what couch should I put in there? That seat over there is fine. It's fine. That folding chair is fine. Trust me, that folding chair is fine. Focus on your SEO. That's all it is. Like that's all I'm saying is that there are more important things for you to focus on than rearranging the furniture in your room.
Yes,
That's it.
I agree. I agree.
That's it.
My color, my main color of my business is purple, and I love my purple wall. And that was one thing I was very adamant about is getting my purple wall for my new space. But I was also walking into it like very, very minimalist. Like I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of stuff. Like I just kept a lot of things from my previous space. I'm just gonna repurpose them here.
Yep.
And just I don't need a lot. I don't feel like I need a lot. I just really need to establish myself within the community with people that are around me. People need to know
Right.
that I'm here, and
Yep.
I'm a waxer here in Arlington. So yeah, if you're listening to this, get your foot out there, you do the work, get your flyers, get business cards, get, those card decals, get all the sandwich boards, get the things out so that people can like start seeing your face and start
Word.
seeing your name.
Exactly.
So yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, what is one thing that you're going to do for yourself this week?
What for myself?
Yes,
What
for
you know what?
yourself.
Actually, I'm going to stretch. And the reason why I say
Yes.
that is because it has been oh man, this might be what I have to do on the daily. You know how I wake up at 3:30, right? I wake up at 3:30 and I go onto my stories and I'm like, "Hello everybody." Like that sort of a thing. And I do that to keep myself honest, to keep myself to be held accountable, right? That's the reason why I'm like woke up at 3:40, 3 I don't know, it's 3 like that's what I do. But I think what I'm going to have to start doing is stretch. Like maybe just get the 10 minutes of stretching out of the way because it's not it's I'm
It
feeling it,
makes a
girl.
difference. It
Make a
makes a
difference.
difference.
And I feel like I hate stretching, but it's necessary. So if I can
Yes.
stretch it 30 days, 30 days, 30 minutes, make a difference. So I'm just going to break it into 3 10-minute sessions. Like, okay, I can handle it for 10 minutes, handle it for 10 minutes, handle it for 10 minutes, and we'll do that. Stretch. Stretch. I'm a
There you
stretch.
go. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I love stretching too. I have to have that. It's so important. I ever since having my twins, I have like really bad
You have
hip
kids too?
problems. Yes. I have
Oh, God, how old are they?
twins. They're two.
Are you done?
Oh yeah. What?
Okay,
After twins, it was like, yeah, no way.
I get it.
So yeah.
I get
Yes.
it.
Wait, you have
Okay.
twins?
We do. We had twins, and then we had twin girls. And my husband was like, I need a boy. And I'm like, so we got a boy. And I mean, I love him, all that stuff, right? But he is a total mama's boy. He doesn't want to have anything to do with my husband. He's 8, but he still doesn't want to have anything to do with my husband. And my husband's like, "What happened? What happened?" I'm like, I don't
That
know.
is so
I don't know."
funny.
But we're
That's
done.
how it
We're for
works.
sure. We're good.
Yeah. Ours is the opposite. I have a daughter. She's
That's
9 and I got twin boys. Well, thanks so
oh
much for
wow. Oh yeah,
joining.
you're done. You're done.
Yes,
Pleasure.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.